All right, so here we are in the Hardy Wrestling Podcast Live Vibe. I know it's pretty later, it's later than I would normally have my show, but either way, and I'm dealing with technical difficulties, but that's another story for another day. Either way, it's your girl Stephanie Hardy of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, and I am sitting here with someone who I consider to be a pretty close friend in the wrestling podcast universe and someone who helped me, as I began my journey into this foray of wrestling podcasting. And he is an accomplished commentator, accomplished podcaster, in his own right. So please welcome the host of the Bob Culture podcast and senior editor of the Pop Break, Rob Williams. How are you?
Hey, Steph, it's really honestly, it's awesome to talk to you. Thank you for having me. I don't know who canceled on you, but I appreciate you taking the time to talk to little old me. And thank you for all the nice things. In journalism, we are taught not to bury the lead here. And I'm going to say this right now. I want to talk to you off air, but I figured I'd save it for the show. Steph, you are sitting down with Lita, Trish Stratus, Mickey James, Alabama Con. How did this happen? I mean, we've been lucky enough to talk to some of our heroes, but you're sitting down with three goats of the business of wrestling overall. I mean, I hate to be Mr. Interviewer here, but I want to hear about this.
Look, I knew this was gonna happen.
Okay. As it should.
Something inside of me just knew that somebody was gonna ask me about this week. I
want to hear about it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, if you're watching and you may or may not know, if you don't follow me on Facebook, Instagram, or whatever, but if you're not, then please do. In the meantime, so Alabama Comic-Con was this past weekend, was Saturday and Sunday, and the Hardy Wrestling Podcast had a fan table there for the very first time. Yeah. And this was only my third time ever going to this convention as well. So I was really excited to be a part of it this time. And the three girls, three goats, Trish Stratus, Lita, and Mickey James, were all doing meet and greets there at the convention. It was such a big deal. Every wrestling fan, came out to it. I got some traffic from my table, this, that, and the third. So they were having a women's wrestling panel on Sunday. And I was just going to go upstairs. I left my table for a little while, and I went upstairs, to ask them a question, just to be, amongst the fans who came, to the thing. And oh my God, since I had met Trish and Lita the Saturday before the panel, she knew who I was immediately when I said, hey, my name is Stephanie. I have a question. And Trish was like, and she has a wrestling podcast. And I was like, oh. And then the guy who was leading the panel, Matt, shout out to Matt of Humble Enterprises, he was like, you have a show? And I was like, yeah, I have a show. And then I told him, all the other stuff that I do. And, he basically told me to go up there to ask my question. And I was nervous. And then he told me to introduce myself and all of the things that I do, as I was walking up the stage.
And that's amazing.
Yeah. And I walked up there and sat down and asked my question. And that's how it happened. And it still feels like a dream. Like, it was just Sunday. Today is Tuesday, going into Wednesday. It still feels like a dream. I can't believe it really happened. I have to look at the picture every other hour just to put it together. I wish I could have put pictures and stuff, in the thing tonight, but I didn't expect for this to come up because I was going to focus on you. But either way, that's so how it happened. And then on top of that, a little bit before the panel, Mickey even came to my table because I had met her previously at NWA Empower Weekend because I was doing media for women's wrestling.
Yeah, I saw that. You did a great job, by the way.
Thank you. So, I said hi to her and everything as I was in line to meet Lita because they were all right next to each other. And I said hi to her and everything. And, and when I told her, where I was from, she remembered me. And I told her that this is my hometown. This is where I live. And she shared with me that this was where she came to get her knee fixed. And I was just like, okay. And I said, did you go to St. Vincent's Hospital? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, that's where I was born. Like,
Oh
St.
wow.
Vincent's, shout out to them, on the south side of downtown Birmingham, has a sports medicine clinic, and it was ran by Dr. James Andrews, and he was a surgeon to a lot of various wrestlers
Yes.
that would come in for years. And I knew about it because anytime I'd go to the doctor, to the part of the building, there was always posters up of the doctors, of the wrestlers who would come in that clinic. And he's retired now, but the clinic is named after him now. So anytime any wrestler is broken, we down here in Birmingham, we fix him. So we
Yeah,
fixed
that's
Mickey
it. That's
James.
it.
So, she came by the fan table and everything. We took pictures and everything. And
Aw.
man, it was just a sick weekend. I couldn't even believe that. I still can't believe it even happened. Um, and it was crazy. So that's what happened. That's I guess a shorter version of what happened without telling like the long story.
That's you know what? It's well deserved, and you've been putting in the work, and I've watched you like grow and come so far, and it's pretty cool. Like, yeah, it was cool to go on stage, it's cool to like get pictures and meet them, but like the fact that I think you had said what was it, Trish? It was like, oh, she has a wrestling pot. Is that what happened? Like the
Yeah,
fact that
because
they appreciate and know who you are, like, come on, that's amazing.
Yeah, because I had on a podcast shirt, when I was in line to meet them both. And she liked my shirt, at first
Aw.
glance. Like, and I was just like, and I told her, what was up and how I have a table and how and everything I did. And she was so encouraging to me when we got to talk in line, and we hugged like two times. And she said she was so glad to see, women actually in wrestling,
Yes.
doing the work, even not even just, not just with athleticism, but also in other avenues as well. So her and Lita were very encouraging to me, and I'm really appreciative. And also Mickey too. They were all very encouraging to me, and I'll never forget that. It was just really, really special.
That's
Like,
awesome.
I still can't
And well
believe it.
deserved.
Thank
That
you so
that's amazing,
much.
and that's what I love about doing this is, like, you gotta just kinda they say don't always meet your heroes, but a lot of times, like, we have, and we've had some great moments, and, you just gotta get to pick their brains and kinda be amongst your peers, as journalists, and it's very cool, to be a part of that, and that's my favorite part of doing this, and when I saw that picture of the 4 of you up on stage, I'm like, "This feels right. This feels right."
Oh, thank you. It's
Great
crazy.
job.
It's really crazy. I still can't believe it happened. So it's a lot. It's really a lot right now. I've been going through a lot of shock and awe over the past 72 hours. But yeah, I'm just decided not to rest on my laurels here because I still got interviews due and I still have people I want to talk to, and you're one of the people I want to talk to. So back to you though.
No one wants to hear about me, please.
That's not true. That's not true. So I gotta ask you, when did you fall in love with wrestling?
Yeah, so it's a crazy story. Basically, I would, my best friend who lives next door here at the neighbor's house, the BCP compound over here. My best friend Vac, we grew up together since we're 4 years old, and he was always the wrestling guy. And we would like play with the action figures and stuff, and the video games. This was 2 weeks ago. As kids growing up, and basically I was always the guy who was like I wasn't into it. I was like, no, this is fake, and da, 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 da. And like I was that person, and now like saying that I feel so like disrespectful because I have such like a love and appreciation not only for it and the art form and the theatrics, but what it has done for me in my personal life and as a journalist and the friends I've made and just how open the doors have been for me, much like I see for you. I'm sure you totally understand that, but at that time I wasn't into it. So it wasn't until we were in college over at Rutgers, and I was doing something on the computer and he was watching SmackDown, and I saw Rey Mysterio flying around the ring. So this is like Ruthless Aggression era. And I was like, who is that? Like, what is happening? And instantly, like, I fell in love with Rey Mysterio. The rest was history. We were really into like the SmackDown games at that point. I think it was like Shut Your Mouth or Here Comes the Pain, and like Ray's
Mm-hmm.
entrance and moveset was in the game, but like he wasn't, so you could like make him. And I thought that was the coolest thing. And I just from there, I just started like watching matches, and from Ray, I fell in love with Jeff Hardy next, and then Kane is my third favorite. So yeah, it was just so cool to watch. And I just fell in love at that point.
Yeah, I feel like the Ruthless Aggression era is a really good place to start. It's so funny. I was just talking to Lo from Wrestling Wind Down about the Ruthless Aggression era and how There was so much solid action during that time and lots of great technical wrestling during that time as well. So that's a really good place to start. And then also, to throw in video games in there, I can't tell you how many stories I've heard about people, being into wrestling because they were playing the video games. And that wasn't necessarily my experience because
Okay.
I wasn't raised with video games because my parents were different. They were kind of different in that way. But either way, any way people can get into wrestling. I just think it's incredibly valid. And it's so funny that you started off thinking that it was fake though.
Yeah, it was one of those things like where I wasn't in the know about it. It was just like a lot, it was just like everyone's like, "Oh, it's fake. They're not really," it was
Mhm.
like it's like, but again, like Joey on Friends isn't really Joey on Friends. You know what I mean? Like it's a performance,
Right.
an actor. But like to me, it was just like everyone's like, "Oh, it's fake," and I guess that was like my mindset, or the people around me were saying that. And my best buddy Vac, man, he was steadfast on it and his love for it, and he's a big part of our show today. And yeah, I fell in love with it. I never thought I'd be behind the curtain, or reporting or interviewing with some of these wrestlers today, but I definitely like really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed not only like the theatrics and the moves, but I enjoy like, there are stories like the storytelling and the music, and just like the fashion and the looks, and like Jeff Hardy with the paint.
Yes.
Just I loved the music at that time too. There was just so many parts that I could relate to as like a drummer and musician and stuff like that. It was just like a different creative art form, and I really came to appreciate it.
Okay. You just mentioned your love of music. So where did that start too? Like where did that start?
Yeah, so I came from like a musical family, and basically I did a lot of like music stuff. Like when I was a kid, I was like in choir. I can't sing at all now. But I would do like the handbells at church, and and I started taking drum lessons at 11 years old. Now I'm a drum teacher. I teach a kids drum line. I'm so very, very proud of. And I started playing in bands when I was 16, like sophomore year. And I was like playing in bands with the older kids, and that was kind of like my thing in high, like that was kind of my group. And then I joined marching band, and I made a lot of friends there. And that was something I've been playing in bands for, gosh, a long time. I want to say almost 20 years. That's wow. I feel super old. Um, but yeah, I've been playing drums for a long time. I really love it. I'm not playing in any bands currently right now. It's just such a commitment. Sometimes it was thankless, a lot of pay to play. At the same time, I got to open for some like really cool national acts, POD, and I got to watch them from the side of the stage. It was just kind of cool, but it's very similar to wrestling. At a lot of times I feel the wrestling is more rewarding and there's more opportunities. But yeah, music was like my first love in terms of creative output. And I still love it to this day. I love teaching, and I'm so proud of the kids that I teach. They're so phenomenal. But yeah, it was music first, and then it became kind of more wrestling for me, strangely enough.
See, that's funny because for me it's like it was I believe wrestling first and then music for me.
Yeah.
And it's pretty crazy now that I think about it, the one that ultimately won out right now.
Yeah, yeah. But and it's like it's not like one, excludes the other. Like I can't really. I've done the band thing for so long. Like I always tell people like hey, if you need me to lay something down, like I got you. If you need me to fill in for a gig, I got you. But like people had asked me if I wanted to join bands left and right over the past couple of years. I'm like, I just can't make that type of commitment. At the same time, like every fourth Sunday we play at my church, which is awesome. We have some really talented musicians there. I got to play on Mimi's entrance theme. Thanks to John Kiernan, who does a lot of the entrance themes. I played on the Notorious Mimi's. Now she's Sloane Jacobs in NXT. I got to play the drums on her entrance theme, so that's on there. I got to play some of my
Cool.
friends out to the ring, and if I had wrestlers yell at me and use my drum set as weapons, so it's still a very big part of me. It's just kind of cool when worlds collide.
Yeah, it is. So, did you ever like fully imagine yourself, working in wrestling, or was this just sort of like something that sort of just, caught you by surprise and then you started participating in it more and more?
Definitely caught me by surprise. I'm sure you can relate to it, and I don't think like my family like gets it, and nor do I expect them to. It's really like joining the circus is like the best way I could explain it. But I love it, and I've learned so much from it. Not only from just interviewing and podcasting, but I help with production. I've got to help some of my friends GoPro Wrestling, HCW Network. I've done ringside cams, Daddy Yet Productions, then Buffalo Boys. I got to do camera switching. So I've learned all the different, routes and things behind the camera and in front of the camera. I actually prefer being behind the camera. I honestly hate being on camera, even though I'm doing all these like backstage interview segments, which I have a ton of fun with. I love the wrestlers that go the extra mile because you're doing the backstage interview. Like, what's your mindset going? Your thoughts, and like I try to make it different and a little bit fun. And at the end of the day, our job is to put them over when we're in that role. But to answer your very simple question, I never saw myself doing this. I started doing the podcast as a lot of local bands came on because it was Bob Culture, which was a spin on pop culture. We did movie reviews, Marvel. I had a lot of local businesses on. And Chad Minez, who I just had on last night, basically was a local Northeast indie promoter, and we just kind of linked up. I shared a lot of his stuff. He invited me to his show. Was my first independent show with Standalone Wrestling, and the rest was history. I started interviewing the wrestlers. Frankie Picard was the first wrestler I ever had on. I think Joe Gacy might have been like the second or third, who's killing it on NXT right now. He's always been great taking the time for us, and I love seeing people succeed. And I'll tell you this now, Steph, like I've known musicians, I've known athletes that have chased their dreams, and it's very hard. You have to put in the work, but I've never seen so many people succeed on a professional level than a lot of these people that I've known or worked with that have traveled, put in the miles, put in the work, and maybe got that opportunity, whether it's on AEW Dark or maybe getting signed to AEW, signed to NXT. It's amazing to see, and we've had standing ovations in our living room. If our friends even a video package, we just we take a picture, and it's just so cool to see our friends succeed and get signed. And I love, I shouldn't say being a small part of it, but I love being associated with that wrestling community. And it's just cool to kind of, I don't want to say be a part of it, because it's not like that. It's just kind of cool to watch everyone just climb the ladder. And I see people right now, whether it be performers, wrestlers, announcers, and commentary, that are just like, they're on that cusp, and I see them like, you're almost too good to be here, and it's really cool to see people grow. And I'm just thankful for the opportunities. I don't think I've ever been the guy that's like trying to make it. I just enjoy doing this, and I enjoy learning, and I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah, I completely understand that. Like, it caught me by surprise too. It's just, I find it's really crazy because it's just the way that I started, into it was just looking for a place to share my thoughts. And,
Yes.
and I just try not to, give off the impression that I'm like a know-it-all or I'm just an insider or whatever. Like, I'm just a
Yeah.
fan like everybody else
Yes.
is, but I'm just, telling everybody how I feel in a sense. But I never expected any of this to catch on or any people to actually want to listen to me, because I just thought all the people who wanted to listen to me were people who really loved me or who really cared about me, on a personal level, or like friends that I might make or something like that. But as far like, I never thought anybody would actually want to listen to me on this type of platform, because all the people who you see are really successful at this platform, they have, audiences already, or like they're already famous, or or they're really like experts in this certain field. But then as it turns out, wrestling, is this beautiful community that uplifts you regardless of where you come from most of the time. And then it just sort of blossoms into its own thing. And now here we are. So
Yeah, it's awesome. And I
crazy.
think people, you don't give yourself enough credit. Like, you've really grown and come a long way. And I think people, like, I know I gravitated towards you. I think we were in a group chat together, and
Mm-hmm.
then we'd worked together on some panels and whatnot. You've been on the BCP a few times, and you always bring it. You know your stuff. You're passionate about it. You're a kind person, which I think counts for a lot these days. And you work hard, you put in the work. And I'm happy to be on this show. Like, I'm excited. Like, I miss it. I haven't talked to you in a while. It's really cool to see. And
Yeah.
it's cool to see your journey. To talk about everyone else's journey. It's cool to see your journey too, and to see you grow and succeed and get commentary. Because when I saw that picture of you and Lita, Trish, and Mickey up on stage, I'm like, oh, Steph's hosting this whole thing. No doubt in my mind.
No, I wasn't hosting it.
I thought you were.
No,
I
that's what a
legit
lot
thought
of
you were.
people thought. Some people really did think that I was, moderating the thing. And trust me, like, there was something like in the works where someone was trying to get me to do it, but the convention had their own people. So I didn't want to override that. And I was just happy to even be there in the room. But I mean, like I said, getting called up there was just like, whoa, are you serious? And just the idea that, everything that I've done, has helped me get up there was just kind of like, whoa, this is crazy. But yeah, thank you, for the compliment of it, because it's yeah, life is just getting insane now. It's insane. So who are some of your favorite wrestlers, as you matriculated through your fandom?
I mean, I think I'm supposed to say Vicious Vicky first, but other than that, I'd have to
Yeah.
say Rey Mysterio, as I mentioned earlier, was like the guy that really like turned me on to wrestling. And I was like, this, because I thought they were just like punching and slamming, and he's doing the 619 and Hurricane Radas and jumping off cages, and I'm like, this is not fake. Like, this is crazy what he's doing. So definitely Ray. It's fun. We have our flea market weekends, and I always try to find a different Ray figure. Like, and I'll have to show you later. I got a little collection, all the Rays against the wall that I collect.
Oh wow.
I did get to meet him in, I think, 2014 at a show. I got him to sign a mat. My buddy got me a Ray mask from Mexico years ago, so I got him to sign that. And then Jeff, who I mentioned earlier, just something about Jeff, and I think to this day that holds up. He's just something about him, and he'll even say this, just kind of connects with the audience, him being different, or him embracing his art or his style, his music, and then his moveset, the high risk, obviously. There's just
Yeah.
something about Jeff that, not just his persona, because his persona is him, but just something about his art and style. And that was another thing that really just brought me into wrestling too, was, I started growing my hair out. Like, it's like, you get it. It's like those little things. I got someone like the Hardy, like you said, at the end of the day, we are fans, and that's something we embrace here on the show. Again, we keep everything very professional, but at the same time, I've been going through some hard times, and just going to wrestling shows with the boys or being a fan really, really gets me through. So I got a lot of the Jeff Hardy, like, armbands. Shameless promo, our friends Funkenstein Wrestling Superstore. They take good care of us, and they have everything. I want to get that in there because they're our sponsor. Shameless promo for them. And then for some reason, Kane. I don't know why I gravitated towards Kane. It was just, maybe it was like the mask, or like the fire. Him and RVD was a lot of fun. Taker, I always knew as a kid, and Taker's probably like my top 5, and I always thought he was really cool, even when I wasn't into it. I knew who Undertaker was, and he was always cool. But something about Kane, like, I don't know why I liked Kane better. I don't know. Like, I can't explain it, but something about Kane was just very, very cool to me. So those were my favorites. And then right now, and a shameless promo, I'm dropping all these names, Steph. I hope I don't get in trouble.
No, you're fine.
But we got to sit down with Johnny Gargano from NXT, and
Yeah, I saw
um,
that.
it was so cool, because I would say he's probably my 4th favorite right now. And got to shout out the goodest brother, my co-host with the most, my brother Nunez, who's up there. That's his guy, man. He loves Johnny. He's inspired him, and what it's all about. He's helped, just watching his entrance or watching his matches. Nunez even says it in the interview. It pulled him out of a dark place, and that was really cool, because that interview, first of all, Johnny, if you guys ever get a chance to meet him, nicest dude in the world. He even said it, like, he really does try to go the extra mile. So we went up, we met him, we got a picture with him. I asked if he'd do a drop for the show. Hey, you're listening to the BCP. Did it, no problem. Nicest guy in the world. Nunez brought up a figure for him to sign, and he mentioned, I actually have all of them over at our table. Johnny stops the line, bring them over. Signs every single one of them as 7 figures, like,
Wow.
which he should be making when he gets signed. But that being said, I'll say this. He was super nice, went the extra mile. and we went over to the podcast table, and the convention was wrapping up, and Nunez very politely, hey, just like, we're always very professional, like, Nunez from BCP, Pop Break, whatever we're doing at the time, would you mind doing a short interview? Da, da, da. He's like, yeah, as soon as I'm done here, blah, blah. And I'm thinking that could be a very polite no. Like, I'm used to the polite no's, and you get a lot of no's in this business, Steph, but you
Yeah.
never say never. I've had Kurt Angle say yes. I've had a Ghostbuster say it. Like, you never know who's going to say yes. And people decline. I get it, because things get spun. They don't know if we're, dirt sheets. They don't know if we're going to spin something, and I've had stuff I've reported be spun, and I was just like, like, it was like a learning experience. But he packed up his stuff. He came right over. He sat down, and that interview read as like a love letter. Like, I sat down and I said, Johnny, like, we're not going to ask where you're going. Like, we're not that kind of show. We're not going to ask where
Mhm.
you're going. And he's like, I don't know where I'm going. And it was just great. I really, if I could get any plug in right now, guys, check out our interview, the Pop Culture Podcast with Johnny Gargano. We walked away from that, and I'm like, this day could not have gone better. I could stop doing the show right now and just be happy, because with one of my best friends in the world, with one of our favorite wrestlers, for him to be such a nice guy, and Nunez basically at the end saying like, hey, just want to thank you for everything. You were there for me. You helped pull me out of a dark place. And it was such a cool interview and such a good moment. I will never forget it. And that's why we love doing this.
That's so great that you had all of those great interactions and you have all your other favorites as well.
Yeah.
Hilariously enough, even though my last name is Hardy, I only have one piece of Hardy merchandise, and it's the necklace. It's
I
the
love the
necklace.
necklace. I love
I
the
love it.
necklace.
Like, I love the necklace too. So hopefully, at some point I can fix that, because some of their stuff that they have, now is really cute. So hopefully I can fix that within the future. But I totally get it. Like, there are so many people I know who have the armbands, and and have done the face paint or have tried to move and all the other stuff. So I completely get it. So was there ever a time in your life when you were, like, say for instance, either teased or kind of like made fun of for being a wrestling fan, and how did you like overcome that?
You know what? I was lucky. Like, I've always had like I've always, for the most part, had good people around me. Um, and when I got into it, it wasn't until I was in college. So I think like, no one gave me a hard time or bothered me about it. Like, I don't think everyone like got it, like I was saying earlier. And now that I'm working in it, I don't think everyone like gets it. Which, again, I completely understand. It really is like joining the circus. But as far as my fandom, a lot of my boys and my inner circle, if you will, we all love wrestling, and we have like, we just had our big Double or Nothing party. We had everyone over. It's great. Sometimes we have quizzes, like, or prizes, or like, we get really, really into it. So no one's really given me a hard time or bullied me about it or anything like that. I just think, maybe a couple like, oh, you watch this or da da da. But it wasn't until I was way older too, don't forget. And
Mhm.
at the end of the day, I've actually made more friends because of not just wrestling, but working in wrestling.
Yeah, I find that in some cases a lot of people have different experiences with it. Like, I've had people, who have started watching wrestling at a young age, and they feel like they either can't be as open with it because other people don't understand it, or you have those who kind of just didn't care that, people didn't get it and that it was their thing, kind of like me. And then you have people who were really big fans of it, but then kind of shied away from it because they were bullied. And it's so sad when stuff like that happens. But I know I've made lots of friends, even from liking wrestling and even working in the business even now. But I know, like, when I was in school, a lot of people were looking at me like I was crazy because I was a wrestling fan, simply because I guess fit a description, because it's just like I don't necessarily lead with, oh, I'm a wrestling fan,
Yeah.
meet me. Like, when you meet me, like, it's just me, and I'll talk to you about like a litany of other things, and then all of a sudden wrestling comes up, and then I say, oh yeah, I'm into that, and they're like, huh?
At the end of the day, it
It's
makes you
funny.
it makes you happy, and obviously you're passionate about it. I mean, to me, smiles on faces, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it is. That is exactly what it's all about, and as long as you treasure it and as long as you love it, that's really all that matters. So, I did see in doing some research, background research on your show, that it's sort of that the Pop Culture Podcast started as a pop culture music show. So when did it sort of make that transition from music into wrestling, or do you still do a mixture of the two?
It's a very fair question. I would say right now it's at least 80% wrestling, and that is because the wrestling has been so rewarding. Man, I could go on and on with examples. Just made so many friends. It's to the point now where, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but like the wrestlers see us as a conduit. Hey, can I come on? Hey, can I come on again? Promoters, hey, can I come on? And that's what it's all about. Yeah, please tell your story. Please promote your event. As long as you're a good human, that's all I ask. Please. But yeah, we did, and we still do. Like when we do our 300th episode, or we have that, we always have bands featured, we always have live performances. I'm actually trying to regularly get a live performance kind of format, because I have so many friends that are in bands, and really, really great bands. So I'm trying to showcase that a little bit more than we once did, or than we do now, I should say. We just did our same convention over at Baltimore Celeb Fest, where we interviewed Johnny, and we had a great time. We did our Double or Nothing, Owen Hart tournament cup picks, and at the end of that, I featured our friend Bobby Mahoney, who just put out a music video, so I featured the music video at the end. So if you ask what the Bob Culture Podcast is, I want to say it's a pop culture show, and it still is, but it's definitely, I think wrestling is the first thing in the description. Local music or music would be second. And then, we usually review like the Marvel movies. We did the Ghostbusters movie, like the big series, Falcon Winter Soldier, WandaVision. We try to do panels, and the wrestling really had, like, I look at my calendar and it's like this superstar, or I shouldn't say superstar, this wrestler, this talent. So it is, I would say, at least 80%. And then that's being generous, wrestling. And the wrestling has been good, but we always still want to showcase those bands who were hit hard, who were hit very hard during the lockdown and pandemic. So that kind of made things a little tricky. At the same time, I also use that to build the platform from an audio platform to video, which we're doing now, and to grow and connect with people. So we are still a pop culture show. We are still a music show, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't at least 80% wrestling. And at the end of the day, like, this is us, like, being friends and talking about what we want to talk about. And nothing about the Bob Culture Podcast title says wrestling in the show, and it would make a lot more sense. It would probably be easier to find for search engine optimizations. But at the end of the day, the fact that people wear a t-shirt that says Bob Culture Podcast, or want to work with me, or come on the show, or anything, that means the world to me. Or be a guest, or be a panelist, or tell their story. I just love getting together with my friends and talking about what we love.
Yeah, I mean, I love your shirts. Like, I remember that was one of the coolest things I noticed about your show. I was just like, he has the coolest t-shirts.
Thank you. I appreciate
one day, maybe for myself, like that. I thought that was really cool. But sometimes I wonder, what would happen if the Hardy Wrestling Podcast actually branched out and tried to do something else? Because I'm interested in a lot of different things, and a part of me wonder, like, I wonder what would happen if I decided to talk about something different on the show. Where would people take to it, or would people not take to it? I don't know. It's weird.
You have a platform. I say do what makes you happy. Like, say there's like a band that you love, or you're at a convention and there's like a voice actor or an actor or someone, like, have them on. Hey, it's your podcast, it's the Hardy Wrestling Body. But like, I listen to a lot of shows. I think we just had I was listening to Busted Open. Shout out to our guy Dave LaGreca. They just had Melissa Joan Hart on from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. She was putting out a new Lifetime movie, and they were just talking about the new Lifetime movie. I mean, they got a little wrestling in there. I guess she's a fan, but you have a platform. I'm never a fan. I shouldn't say never. Sometimes it is a smart move. I don't like it when people completely rebrand. Like, would it be smart for me to put wrestling in the title of my podcast? Probably. That would make a lot of sense. But we have, our brand, and it is what it is, and it's us, and it's very organic. If you started a whole new podcast just to interview one person or different genre, unless like you're going to do an all music podcast or something, then that's completely different. But you have your brand, and you're respected, and you're kind, and your social media presence is known, and people notice that, or even your shirt. Like Trish noticed your shirt. So I say, if you want to have Toby Maguire, I don't know why Spider-Man came into my head, but like Toby Maguire on whatever it is, make it happen. I don't see why not. Do what you love.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense because I actually just thought about I was on Twitter just now watching NXT, and I believe there's this singer named Saucy Santana, and there was an article that was posted, from her being in Teen Vogue, and she actually said that she was a Trish Stratus fan, and I was just like, so do I need to have her on the pod? Like, could that happen? Like, so sometimes
Yeah,
I really do wonder and think about what would happen if I did decide
go for
to
it.
to branch
Go for
out
it.
like that. Like, I feel like it would be really cool if I did, but I don't know because it's hard because
You seem excited about it. Just, I'm sure people would love to talk to you and tell their story.
yeah, I'm sure. So, it's just a matter of thinking about it. But there's so many people I want from the wrestling space because it's so big that I don't even necessarily know if I would even have time for anybody else. But hopefully, something like that can happen. So, do you ever feel like your passion for music and pop culture, is equal to your love of professional wrestling?
Oh, that's a tricky one, because right now, like, I always say this, man, like, and to anyone listening who's a journalist, or who is falling in love with wrestling, or maybe being in the business, I'll say this, like I always say this: don't live and die with wrestling. Like, don't live and die, like, because it can be toxic. It's broken my heart a few times, not to any fault of my own, just promoters or nonsense going on, or terrible things going on, and you find out about them, and people you thought you knew or trusted, all that stuff, and it's not uncommon. At the end of the day, it is a business. At the same time, it has been so rewarding and such a positive thing in my life, and that's another reason we do a lot of wrestling here, is because I want to give it right back. Like, I was in not the best spot and going through some stuff, and wrestling, and certain people in wrestling, people that I'm proud to call my friends, were there for me and pulled me out of a dark spot, and it's just so rewarding and amazing, and that's why I'm so high on it right now, because it keeps giving back. You know what I mean? It's like a good trade off. Like, even in the indies, I'm just getting opportunity. Yesterday, I got a lot of opportunity. Can you edit this? Can you do this? Can you interview this? Sponsorship, like, whatever. It's very almost overwhelming. It's really cool and rewarding, and I'm not numb to that fact or stupid to the fact. I'm like, this is good business. This is good rapport. That being said, I love Marvel movies. I love playing video games. I'm a big nerd. I'm a big nerd. So I don't think, definitely on the podcast, like I said, it's a lot of wrestling, but I mean, you look at this room, Spider-Man's hanging out here. Maybe that's why I said Spider-Man, because I saw Spider-Man up there. But all this crazy stuff. We got the Johnny stuff. I got Vince Carter, my favorite basketball player, up there. I got a Shroot Buck from The Office. Like, I'm a big pop culture guy. I'm a big nerd. I love wrestling, but every once in a while, I gotta kind of take a step back from wrestling, and like I always say, it's important not to live and die with wrestling. Some people are all in, and I'm very careful about towing that line with everything. So I'm a passionate nerd, but I'm very smart, I guess, about what I do.
Yeah, I totally get it. So yeah, like that's just man.
It's a lot.
It's funny.
My brain is crazy.
Yeah, it's just funny how a lot of that actually they all play into each other in some way.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
even with wrestling and even with Marvel and DC and so many various things, like they all sort of intersect at some point. So it's almost like you can't really separate them. They're all just
Yeah, I think that's who I am.
yeah.
I know you can only see this back wall, but this whole room, when we moved here, I painted this whole room, and I have Ninja Turtles over there. I got my Ghostbusters, like, firehouse from the 80s over there. It's so cool, and I just love it. Like, I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, this room makes me really happy, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I imagine so. Like, that's just a lot of great stuff you have back there.
Oh, you don't know the half of it. It's you're like, oh yeah, that's great, and then I'll show you, and you're like, oh boy, he's
Oh, stop it.
crazy.
No. No, 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 no. Like, I tend to admire people who put that much time into their rooms because I find that I don't. So, like,
Yeah.
even though I do decorate my room like a little bit, like, I find that there's still so much more that I could do that I just don't do because I'm always busy with so many other things. So, anytime I see a person, putting that much into their room and that much care and, and having care about it, it's just like, that's great. I love the way this looks
It
because
it
I
makes
know I just couldn't do it.
it makes me happy, like looking around this room. It makes me really happy. But then my bedroom is like it's like a bed and like a desk and like a TV and like everything's like white and it's like the this plain white walls. I guess it makes it like the room feel big or whatever. And I'm just like sitting there like psychoanalyzing myself, like like all my happy stuff and I have a lot of Ninja Turtles and toys are down here, and then upstairs is like I'm like I need to put more cool stuff up there.
Yeah, like I can't wait to get a house and see what that looks like. That's gonna be fun. Um
Well, you are welcome. Anytime we have and I know you're very far away, but if you're ever working in the Northeast, Belladonna Division, whatever, wherever you're traveling with, or you're doing a con or something, come stop by the BCB compound. We watch pay-per-views. Come hang out here with us.
Definitely. I would love to do that. That would be great. Thank you for the
Of
invitation.
course, of course.
Yeah. So how did you become the senior editor of the Pop Break though? Like how did that happen?
So, and that's given me a lot of not only opportunities but legitimacy too, because I never always want to be like, hey, you want to come on my podcast? I feel like I want to say everyone has a podcast, but podcasting has really come a long way, and there are a lot of podcasts right now than there used to be many years ago, even before the lockdown and all that stuff. So, Pop Break gave me a lot of great opportunities, and shout out to our guy Bill Bodkin, who's on the show. He would cover the local music scene in Asbury Park area. That's how I got to know him, and then I would see him at independent wrestling events. So we became friends. He is a major part of our show. He always is. I always call him like the wild card, and he has such a passion for wrestling, and he brings a lot of great takes to the table. So he is the editor in chief of the popbreak.com. Check it out. We have interviews with a lot of movie stars, a lot of celebrities. We have concert photos. I do the video game reviews, so I get to work with like the likes of 2K Sports, WA 2K, a lot of independent gaming companies, and it's very cool. I love playing the video games, I should say. I get to review like off-Broadway plays in New York City, which is very cool. It gives me a chance to kind of travel. This is kind of before everything. And we had Kurt Angle on. I was working one of the horror cons, and Angle was there. So that was really cool. And I went up to Mr. Angle, Rob Cruther from the popbreak.com. Would you mind doing a short interview? He's like, yeah, how long of an interview? I was like, this is how, like in my brain, I'm like, say the right thing. Like I was like, 2 minutes, Mr. Angle. Couldn't have been nicer. He was amazing. And I am thankful for that, because before I was like working behind the curtain, I was reviewing independent shows. I was reviewing independent band CDs. I was trying, like, that was my bread and butter, is like trying to give these people a platform that are like, hey, like we need press, we need media for our press kit. And I always wanted to be the guy to kind of help them, because I was the guy like in a band, like, hey, could you, interview us or write us or take pictures or something. And I like being that guy for everybody. So I'm very thankful for the Pop Break and the opportunities from Bill. And I've also been able to get a lot of my friends involved or write or tell their story. So many people that have been on the show are now working for the Pop Break. So Steph, if you reach out to Bill, see what you can do.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely take that into consideration. But that's really great though that you were able to have that many opportunities, to do that even with another, platform. Like that's really great. So what has been your favorite live wrestling experience?
Just like in terms of like like an event. Um, man, I want to go like a cliche, like I was at a show and someone returned, or there's like a big win or big moment. I feel like Kofi Mania was cool. Seeing Kofi win,
Oh, so you
definitely
were
up
there
there.
for that.
We were there, yeah. It was. I just like to point
Oh.
out it was in New Jersey, not New York, MetLife Stadium. That's a conversation for another day. LaGreca knows what I'm talking about. But I have been a huge Kofi fan, and my buddy Adam was since he came. I think he came up in ECW, WWE's ECW. And we really liked his moveset and we thought he was really cool. So to see him get that momentum and be there, like I remember looking at my buddy and I was like, oh, he did it, man. And like we were so happy for Kofi. Like that was a really, I have a Kofi Funko over there. That was a really cool moment to experience. A lot of moments on the indies, like I was kind of going through some like life changes and logistics changes to know where I was going to live. Da, da, da. Now me and Nunes have the greatest place on earth. I love being here. It makes me so happy. Like I was saying earlier. Um, and I was going to these independent shows and, I got to shout my guy, Casey Navarro, who's always just been a good friend to me during everything. He knows what I've been through and him and Tasha Steeles came on the show and man, I remember that being a day. I think that was the first time I ever did video for the podcast and they'll never know it, man, but they really brightened my day. And that's another thing that made me want to keep doing this. But I remember Navarro came out in like, it was either a match or battle royal. And he came out and he's wearing the Bob Culture t-shirt. And I had no idea. And man, I turned into like a little kid instantly. That was so cool. I've got to play Eric Corvus out to the ring on my drums. That was another cool moment. And then Matt Vertigo came and kind of like threatened me to play him out too. So that was really kind of a crazy fun moment. Yeah, just a lot of these, and just again, just seeing my friends succeed or having big moments or winning a major title or ending a major story arc or seeing people succeed and get signed. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, like, well, I've talked about Kofi Mania earlier, like earlier on my show, like episodes ago. But that was one of the most important moments I had ever seen in my life because even though I might not have seen him in the independents, because well back then, like back then in my wrestling fandom, I didn't know exactly what the independents were.
Yeah.
I saw him, when he first started in WWE, and I just remember just immediately gravitating towards him because I really thought, he was Jamaican. It's okay. And I just thought he was just this gorgeous man. And I was like, okay, well, I'm here for him, succeeding. And just, it was a lot of times where for him it was up and down, but he was still very consistent. And so, watching him have that moment and then also watching him, have that moment with his family in
Yes.
in the form of the New Day by his side supporting him was just beautiful. And I don't like I almost feel like it would not have happened any other way if he was just him by himself, because I feel like with him by himself was great, but the idea that he was with the New Day and he had these brothers and they built this bond and they were the ones really pushing for him to have this opportunity, like him having a family dynamic within wrestling along with his actual family, it was almost like he was surrounded by this big microcosm of love, and then there's the love from us too. So all of that love was able to sort of push him forward, and then when he won, it was just like it was just a lot of it was a lot of tears from me, tears of joy, but
Yeah.
I was crying. It was a huge moment.
I may or may not have had something in my eye at
No,
at
it's
that
okay
point in
if you
time.
want to admit you cried. I mean, we all did.
That you ain't wrong. Hashtag we say hashtag man tears here. By the way, get well, Big E. Feel better, man. We hope you're doing okay.
Oh yeah, please, cause that I did witness that injury and it was terrible. It was so scary to hear that thud and then he didn't get up. I was hoping at some point he was gonna get up and then he did it. And I'm just like, oh my God. And they rolled him out of there and they took care of him because like I said earlier, we take care of the wrestlers here. But I
That
do
was there. That was in Alabama.
yeah. It was in
Oh,
Birmingham.
you were there. Okay. Oh,
Mhm. It
yeah.
was rough, but I'm hoping, the best for him and his healing cuz he did post a picture without the neck brace on.
Good. They're saying that
So, hopefully,
because his
that'll turn around
they're
for
saying
him.
his muscles is what saved him. He that's I don't know a lot of I
Right.
don't know anything about that. A lot of the wrestlers are saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, I that was great. I was like the
Mm,
idea that his muscles saved him and that really could have been worse, but it
yeah.
wasn't. Like
Yeah. It
I'm
was.
really grateful for that. So, Get well, Biggie.
Get
We miss
well,
you.
Biggie. We love you, man.
We miss you so
We do. We
much.
do.
So, how did you get into commentary on the independent scene?
I mean, it's probably similar to, and I'm putting you over here, but probably similar to the way you did. Basically, I had been covering these events for the Pop Break or supporting them or having the wrestlers on the show, and someone from Titan, Billy Fetsky. Again, I was going through a lot at that point in time, and I just remember the night that he texted me and he was like, "Hey, do you want to be a special guest commentator at Goddesses of War, all female event here in New Jersey?" And I was like the third commentator. I was like 100% of good. And everything I was going through kind of went and didn't go away, but like I had more excited feeling, and I got to do that event, and I guess they liked it. They kept asking me to come back. Now I am the lead commentator at Titan and Goddesses of War,
Oh,
which is
cool.
crazy. So I don't know if people just keep canceling or they ran out of people, but I'm lead over there, and everyone has been super welcoming. I got to shout my guy David Adams, who was one of the first ones to give me a shot on commentary. He did actually let me call a match before I did that Goddess of War show. I got to call one match, and it was Mimi. Now Sloan Jacobs on NXT versus Vicious Vicky, which is so cool that I call Vicky's match. It was one of my first matches, and Vicky won the title. Correct? Yeah, Vicky won the title in that match, and I got to call that. So it was just such a very cool way to start in this business.
Yeah, that is really cool. Like commentary is fun. Like it's
Yes.
really fun. Like did you practice it all before like beforehand?
Yeah, I did because I'm such a preparer. Like, and as I learned in wrestling, like a lot of it's like, hey, let's go have fun, or hey, yeah, we'll do this. I'm not like that at all. I like to prepare. I like to be ready to go. I'm starting to learn to be more on the fly. I hate it, but I'm a super preparer. So what I did, got the boys, we got Nunez, we got Vac, sat in the living room, muted some matches. And we just started calling them. Yeah, the
Yeah.
legit practices, and it was great. And we all had a natural rapport because we all know each other. And I got a call show with Nunez, which was such a moment, and another one of my favorite moments.
Yeah, that's funny because it's like I kind of practiced most of the time I practice by myself. Um or in the like me and my boyfriend will have random moments where we'll be riding around somewhere and then we'll start commentary like if on someone's driving
Nice.
or we'll
That's
start
fun.
commentary on like someone doing a thing like on television or like a random TV show or something like that or even during a wrestling program that's on TV we'll start doing that and it's just really fun how he was trying to help me prepare in that way but a lot of the times it is by myself like I just would pull up YouTube videos of matches because WWE has started posting a lot of full matches on their free YouTube channel and I'll mute it and then I'll start, calling what I see and sort of in a way ish mimicking what I've heard. But still trying to put myself into it.
That's it.
And it's really fun. Like I really enjoy commentary. Like I like it a lot. Like I really do. And then I just love, being able to take care of the girls in that way. Cause really, that's and the guys, but mostly the girls, and taking care of them. It's really fun. I like it a lot.
Yeah, and you do an awesome job. And I remember we were talking about it. And I was still learning, but I was like, definitely try to approach as many people as you can, or I try to message people for it and like get that information.
Oh
I think
yeah, me too.
the wrestlers are very appreciative of that. That you do know the move name if you can, instead of just the whatever the actual move is called, with their flavor on it. You got to know that. I think they really appreciate that, and I was always trying to do. When I first did that Goddesses show, I was doing a lot of the puns, and we did that whole pun disputed era because I wanted to stand out and I wanted to give it something different. And I was like using little puns and stuff, but at the end of the day I've kind of pulled that back because it was as my buddy John Alba told me, it's like a little too small market. And at the same time it was only, you don't want to take away from the matches. And I've learned as I've done this is I even if things on commentary get a little bit away from the ring, I always try to send it right back. And that's something I've learned from working with like the likes of Riley Shepard. I got to work with her on commentary. I learned that from her. Jimmy Riot commentary is always amazing. David Adams, my buddy Alphonse, uh, Nunez, who I got to work with, Peter DeLong, who I'm working with, coming up at I Am Legend, the all women's show here in Union, New Jersey on Saturday. Shameless promo. I love learning from everybody, and I'm still figuring out who I am on commentary, but I just want the wrestlers to be happy, and I guess the promoters too.
Yeah, me too. I just want the girls and the guys to be happy with me as well. So it's fun preparing for it. And I really do love doing it. And I'm trying to find myself as a commentator as well. So fingers crossed, hopefully, I'll be, I'll get better, as I keep going. So would you say that you have built a fan base in the independents as a commentator slash interviewer?
Uh, I'm not good at compliments. I will say yes. We've done a couple shows where we've sponsored something or I'm on commentary. There's legit been Rob Williams chants, which is makes no sense to me. There's
Oh.
like two people, it was my mom. No, and then there we did one show where we sponsored something, and I remember this was the first time this happened, and it made me really happy. People were chanting BCP, BCP. And I was like, what? And I don't think the commentators got it. They're like, what are they chanting? They thought they were chanting something else. But it was awesome. It was really, really cool. And I was very appreciative of that. And the fact that some of the wrestlers have worn our shirts to the ring. And we go to shows and people are wearing our t-shirts. Like, that's cool. That's cool. Like I said, I'm never trying to like make it or whatever. Like if there was an opportunity for me to work in professional wrestling under contract, whether it be commentary or journalism, I love doing the behind the camera stuff or interviews or journalism. I don't love being in front of the camera, which I mentioned earlier, but if there was the right opportunity, for sure, I'd look into it. But I love learning. I love, like getting it's like camp or something. You get to see your friends every couple months or whatever it is. Um, I'm just grateful for the people. I'm very grateful for the people, and to have anyone buy a T-shirt or support us or want to come on our show or be involved with us. It's really it's cool. It's overwhelming. I don't completely get it, but it's very cool. I'm very grateful. Not just for the success of the show, but just for the people that I met.
Yeah, me too. I'm really grateful for it as well. Like it's been a fun journey, like getting to know so many people, and what's so crazy is all of it happens online.
That's how I met you. That's why we're
Like,
talking right
all of
now.
it
Yeah.
it's online, and I'm only now just now getting to the point where I'm actually meeting people who listen to my show or who support me, and it's really surreal. And I'm actually getting to do it next week too, because I'm going to New York for Black
What?
Wrestle Fest. Yeah, I'm going to New York for Black Wrestle Fest next week for
Really?
Juneteenth.
You'll be in New
Yeah,
York. Have you been to New York before?
no.
Really?
I've never been to New York.
It's you traveling with somebody?
No.
Oh
It's
boy.
just
Okay.
me.
Get directions, talk to people who are up there, find a buddy, you know what I'm saying? New York's a lot. There's just a lot of people. There's a lot of like subway and travel and all that stuff. That being said, there's some great foods. You got to find these spots, good food spots or whatever. But you'll be within the wrestling community, I'm sure. So
Oh
I'm sure we got a
yeah.
lot of mutual friends that'll be there. I'll take good care of you.
Yeah, they will, and I'm happy about it. I'm nervous because I know that it is big, and it's bigger on a different level. But at the same time, I'm still very excited about it because I've never been. Going to New York is a dream of mine. Like, I've wanted to go to New York
Aw.
for my whole life. I've always wanted to go to New York, and now I get to finally come up there, and I'm so excited for it.
I'm excited
So
for you. Get some pizza because the pizza in New Jersey, New York. That's no offense. I'm sure you guys got some good food down there. Don't get
yeah,
me
we
wrong.
do.
My aunt lives down in Alabama. I haven't been there for a long time, but get some pizza while you're up here.
Okay, I will. I love pizza anyway. That's like one of my
Okay.
favorite foods. So, I'm gonna definitely get some pizza. So yeah, I'm gonna get some pizza. It's gonna be
As
fun.
when you're there with like the wrestlers or the talent or the journalists, whoever you're with, ask them what the pizza spot is that's nearby.
Okay. Cool. So, have you ever thought about pursuing a broadcasting or a media career with a major wrestling promotion?
Like I said, if the opportunity presented itself, that would be really cool. I think more as I grow and learn, I start like because again, I never like I didn't do this to make it or or get the reps. I think now I'm trying to get the reps just to learn. But obviously, if the here's my politically correct answer. Like obviously, if the opportunity presented itself and there's the right circumstances, that would be awesome. Do I feel that I'm anywhere near that? No, I still feel that I'm learning, and I'm grateful that people ask me to come back and keep giving me opportunities, because I know it doesn't always go that way. That being said, I wish when I was in college, like I majored in psychology and minored in music. Um, I wish I had. It sounds silly. I wish I had realized that I could have pursued journalism or broadcasting or communications. And I don't think at that time, I know this sounds really ridiculous to a lot of people, but I didn't realize, I just got out of high school. I mean, I guess that's what happens before you go to college. And, I didn't realize that was a thing I could do, nor did I know that I wanted to do that. I was a drummer, so I wasn't really in front of a microphone at all. And it took me a while to get used to this. Usually I was quiet behind the drums. I let my drums do the talking. So, um, in retrospect, yeah, I kind of wish I had studied journalism or broadcasting or all that stuff. That being said, I'm proud of how much I've been able to accomplish without having studied or learned or having a degree in that, and that's just from getting the reps or learning from other people, or even the production stuff. When I get my hand on the camera, I'm doing camera switching, whatever it is, tech, production. It's all hands on learning, which is very good. But I wish I had known that I wanted to do that. This is all very new to me, like the broadcasting, communications, production stuff. This is all very new to me. That being said, I always loved entertainment and pop culture, obviously, but this is new to me, but I really do enjoy it.
Yeah, that's so funny that you brought that up because sometimes I struggle with the idea of whether or not I should go back to school for it. Cause it's just like, cause like I majored in music, when I went to school and I graduated in 2016.
You majored in music. Yeah,
Yes,
okay,
I
okay.
did.
I get it.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and then sometimes I wonder, if I could have, gone a different route, but I didn't know then. So I can't really blame myself because that's just not healthy. But at the
No, I'm
same
glad we're
time,
talking. I feel better now that like we can relate to this. Okay.
yeah, and it's just like I wonder, what would have happened if I had decided to go into communications instead. But at the same time, there's always the option of getting your master's. And last year I was really close to applying, for a master's program, but I started working with Women's Wrestling Talk. And when I tell you working for TK Trinidad, shout out to her because I love her so very much, is like getting a crash course, in it, and learning everything by doing. It really does feel that way. And I've been able to do so much, get so many opportunities and, and do stuff like that and work with great people and everything who are just as passionate about wrestling as I am, if not more. It's really great. But then sometimes I really wonder like if I were to really go into this with the full focus of a career, should I go to school? But it's just like I've done so much and people take me seriously enough without the whole schooling thing that if like I wonder if going to school would be a waste of time. I don't know. It's
I
it's hard
think
to decide.
I think it depends. Like wrestling is a funny, I don't know what the word, like it's a funny route. You know what I mean? Like I've never seen so many people succeed. If you want to be broadcasting in wrestling, I say keep doing what you're doing. Make the networking is half the battle, which you're great at. Like a lot of the names know who you are. You work with some of the names. Um, keep networking, making those connections, keep getting the reps, keep doing what you're doing. If you're looking to do some sort of major radio station or something like that that's not wrestling, maybe that would be something you, and again, I am no expert on the subject whatsoever. I'm thankful that I at ISPW I get to work with Dave LaGreca, who's there all the time, and he hosts Busted Open, and it's so cool to call him one of my peers. And we had him on the show, and he said he considered us friends, and I was like, like I didn't know what to say, and just like really good guy, and to see that there are people, just talking about wrestling 6 days a week and doing that for a living. That's really, really cool. I would love to do that. At the end of the day, I would love to do that. Just talk about wrestling with the boys, be taken seriously, which I think we are, and just keep the positivity in wrestling as well. That would be the dream.
Yeah, it would be the dream too. And it's so funny you keep bringing up Dave LaGreca. I think he follows me on Twitter.
Check, check, check. We're still here.
Yeah, you're
Technical.
good.
This is what happens when you go live.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course he does. He knows who you are. Come on, he knows. He
Yeah, he
knows.
followed me on Twitter and I was really surprised. I was like, "What? Really?" Cuz I've seen fans on AEW television and even on WWE television have signs of his name. And I'm just like, "You're following me? Really? Okay, here we are."
He's the best. I can't say enough good things.
Yay.
He's the best. He knows the deal.
Okay, so maybe I got to get him on the podcast.
There you
Maybe.
go. There you go.
So, how do you feel about the state of wrestling and what do you believe is really good about it and what do you believe should be improved?
Yeah, so it's a good timing for that question. Wrestling's been really, really great. I love that AEW is a thing and is an all. I'm rocking Serpentico, our guy, is a thing right now. I love seeing our friends on AEW Dark almost every week. I love seeing our friends signed or people that we worked with. There's so much opportunity. It's a really great problem to have. I've never been the guy going this over this. Like I enjoy the variety. Lately, AEW has been my favorite show to watch, but that doesn't take away from certain moments that including Cody coming over. Get well, Cody. You know the bad things right off the
Yeah.
bat. The injuries right now. Roman apparently is taking some time off. We have, I mean, I can go down the list. Cody, there's some with Punk. We just saw what's going on with him now. I think Scorpio Sky's got something too.
Oh
I'm
wow.
personally, I'm on the other side of this. I think I'm going to get a lot of not heat, but I'm going to get a lot of disagreeing on this. I am not a fan of the interim champion thing, especially now that Scorpio's hurt too. If we have two interim champions, that's going to be weird. I thought Punk had come out and said, I guess I'm starting with the negative first. I thought Punk had come out and said, and everyone's going to correct me if I'm wrong. I guess this is more of a common thing in combat fight sports. I don't know a lot about that. But Punk had come out and said, hey, got a squeaky wheel. It sounded like he was talking about some sort of broken something in his leg. I'm going to work my way back. I am not done. The wheels haven't fall off. Just got one really bad one. I'm going to take care of it. You could see the tears in his eyes. Before he started talking, I saw the tears in his eyes. I was like, oh, so he goes on to say, I thought he was going to leave the belt in the ring or whatever. He goes on to say, like, hey, I'll be back. I'm going to fight my way back to get this. Then at the main event of that show, the narrative is, oh, we're going to, Moxley is going to be the top guy. And then the Battle Royal winner is going to face for the interim championship. And like, cool. Like, I understand you got to turn the next page, next man up. Like, I get it. But that seemed to contradict what Punk had just said. It almost seemed like different narratives.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I get a lot of people disagree with me on that. That's just how it felt. It felt like one thing was said and then, like the solution was real fast. And again, everyone's probably scrambling to figure this thing out. I think it's going to result in a lot of great matches, but I don't love it. Sounded like Punk was going to work his way back to like be the number one contender and get the belt back. But it's almost like he's, first of all, get the surgery, get healed, make sure there's no complications. Get right, get back into shape, do what you got to do to come back and do what you love. But it's kind of like the belt's kind of waiting for Punk. It feels like, first of all, get right, get healthy. That's what I say. Now we see that Scorpio Sky's injured, so I don't know if there's going to be an interim champion for that. I don't fully know what's going on with that yet. I'm sure we'll find out more as the week progresses. So that's the thing I don't love right now. I am enjoying Wardlow, man. I've been a big Wardlow guy. They backburned the heck out of him. And it was a perfect slow burn. And I just love seeing him come out and hit Hurricane Radas. And apparently I've seen him do some mic stuff. We've seen it very sparingly, but apparently he's very good on the mic as well. Like he's just going to slowly take over, what's going on here. This whole MJF thing has everyone talking. I personally said, before everything went down, when there was all the rumors about him leaving or having the flight or whatever it was, I just said, hey, if everyone can get on the same page, this could make for one heck of a storyline. And then that promo came out with straight fire. They do this right, everybody wins. You make a lot of money. So we'll see what happens with that. I know there's a lot of theories on that. I'm here for the ride. Cody, dude, get well. First of all, Cody has been very impressive. The best way I can explain it is he's had that song for 5 years. After that WrestleMania entrance, I got like 8 million streams on that weekend or whatever. I'm probably saying the stat wrong. I learned it on Qatar on like that weekend, and I've known it for 5 years. And I think that's not a knock on AEW, because AEW is one of my favorites right now, if not my favorite. But it just shows that grandiose stage, that moment, that entrance that Cody had, and that was very, very cool. So it's an exciting time. I'm loving seeing the Hardy Boys back together again. There's so much going on. I don't know why Christian's with Jungle Boy. That's another thing. Like, I don't really get. Are we waiting for some sort of turn or interference or something? I'm assuming the Hardys are going to fight for the tag belts at some point to, put that on their list of championships. I don't really get why. No hate on Christian. I just don't know why he's there. But I am really enjoying a lot of stuff. There's so much I could talk about. And then the independents have a lot of great things going on right now too.
Yeah, it's a lot to really enjoy in wrestling.
A lot.
And even though you did sort of start out with a negative, I believe that's a valid, complaint, because I've seen that sentiment from a few other people in the wrestling circle about the whole interim title thing. And this isn't, to bring up anything maddening, because I know a lot of people do the whole AEW versus WWE thing.
Right.
But I just know from watching WWE, it seems like whenever one of their people are out with an injury, they just sort of make them give up the title, and then they'll operate a certain way, either create a tournament or have a match or something for somebody else to win the title in the place of the other person. And if and only if that other person wants to go after it again, they do go after it again, or they just don't. You just never know. So it is kind of strange to me a little bit whenever I go and watch AEW and then they have the interim thing, because I had never heard of that, form of doing it before, in terms of having an interim champion. And then once they do come back, you figure out, who the undisputed one is, even though there was at one time CM Punk did that with John Cena, because everybody thought CM Punk left WWE after he wanted Money in the Bank that time. And then John Cena beat Rey Mysterio infamously for that, because a lot of people were angry about that, including me. John Cena beat Rey Mysterio for the title, and then John Cena was like, "Look at me, I'm the champion," blah. And then CM Punk was like, "Yo, I'm back and I got a new song." And then and then he was like, "No, I'm the champion." Now, that was really the only time I've seen anything similar to that. But other than that, they didn't call him an interim champion. Like, they just made him the champion. So I'm just saying, like, it is kind of different, the way AEW is doing it. But, I mean, if that's how they want to do it, then that's fine. Yeah.
Different's good sometimes. I like that they're doing their own thing, and they're staying in their lane. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with how they're gonna. I know they kind of did it with Sammy and Cody, and that actually played out great. I'm not gonna lie, that the series of matches was great. But I could be very wrong. I think the bookings. I love the Owen Hart Cup tournament booking for the men, particularly. A lot of dream matches: Darby Jeff, Adam Cole Jeff, that got cut short due to time. Samoa Joe, Adam Cole, that was some great. You got a lot of face versus face booking, which I feel a lot of people are set in their ways. Always has to be face heel, and I like it. Oh, it's a tournament, face, like, let's go for it. And that was some really cool matches, so I do enjoy that as well.
Yeah, I enjoyed the Owen Hart tournament too, and even on the women's side, it was really good. Even though I really felt like Chris could have. I was rooting for Chris.
I was rooting for Chris too.
I was rooting for Chris Statlander to sort of go further than she did, because she did a really excellent job. I'm really enjoying watching her evolution. Like, I really am. So here's hoping that she has, more great stuff on the horizon for her, because I'm really enjoying her. Her match against Ruby at Rampage that time, I was like, girl, come on.
She's gonna go. We've been a fan of her since WrestlePro here in New Jersey, and we got to interview her. And it was, if you ever listen to that interview, she keeps us on our toes. Like, she definitely took every question and turned it on its head. And I'm sitting there going to news. I'm like, was that good? Like, were we bad? Like, what? And he's like, no, she was messing with us. Like, like, and I listened to it now, and now it's one of my favorite interviews. But she's great. I was totally rooting for her, and she is going very far. But bright future ahead.
Yeah, I'm really pumped for her. And I'm really pumped for everyone, in wrestling at this point. Yeah, there is a lot of course, wrestling always has its ups and downs, but ultimately it's always, a really good time, with what you do have. Instead of, focusing super hard on what you don't have in wrestling, because we have a tendency to really focus on what we don't have. So, you do have to, there's a certain resilience that you have as a wrestling fan in order to try to still enjoy it, because otherwise you'll just tap out and give up. And we can't do that. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So what is the best thing that wrestling has ever given you?
That's that's easy. I'm not going into specifics here, but went through a very very hard time. Got kind of blindsided by something, when I was married, um, and I just had to move forward and never saw it coming. And basically, I went and lived with my dad for a while. Like, where am I going to live? What am I going to do? Kind of thing. And I started going to these indie shows, and just the amount of friends I made, and not just the wrestlers, but like the talent, the crew, some of the fans to this day that are still really good friends that I get excited to see, who have been so supportive and so welcoming. And some of them kind of knew I was going through something, or some of them kind of knew exactly what I was going through. And whether they wore a shirt to the ring, or, one of the BCP shirts, or, hung out with me or talked with me or let me vent on their podcast or whatever it was, I, to this day, or got me a birthday present, like, to this day, like, so grateful for that. A lot of people go through stuff, man, and I don't want to compare, because people go through way worse stuff than I went through. And I was so lucky. First of all, my support system, the boys, amazing. I can't say enough good things. I'm very lucky, but to have that extra support system of these new friends and wrestlers and opportunity, and I don't know how to describe it. Just some really interesting, cool, different, from all different parts of the country, people. It was so awesome to have, and I still have that, and I'm just so grateful for them, and that's why I do this, and I want to give it all back. And that is definitely my favorite thing.
So wrestling gave you a community.
Yeah, that's it. You said it perfectly. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
And
That's
that
really
includes
awesome.
you. That includes
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, like wrestling gave you a community, and that's a beautiful thing. It's very valid, because sometimes in the hardest points of our lives, wrestling is always there. And it feels like, even though wrestling can be really hard sometimes, it's a beautiful mattress to lay on whenever life gets hard. So
Yes.
I believe that's probably the first time I've ever heard anybody say wrestling is a mattress, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
I get it. I get it though. I get it.
Wrestling is a mattress. That should be the title
I like it.
of this episode.
I like it. I like
So
it.
what would you say the future holds for you, Rob?
That's tricky. I think right now for me, just wrestling, like I said earlier, like, don't live and die with wrestling. Like, wrestling is awesome and fun, and being part of it is great. Did I ever see this? Do I see this as a career kind of thing? I don't think, like, for a lot of other people, this is their dream, and they put in the hours and the work in the gym. And I've seen so many people succeed in that, and I push people that I believe in. And I always tell them, hey, let me know if I'm overstepping. Like, I can see so many people succeed, and there's so many people up here in the Northeast Indies that are just on that cusp, and I'm so happy. I don't put myself in that category. I see myself as, like, I just finished my rookie year, behind the curtain, and people are still asking me to come back. I feel people think I have some sort of value, whether it be shameless promo, like I always say, sharing everything, putting people over, having the interviews, maybe adding something to commentary, adding something to backstage interviewers. And I'd like to continue doing that. Am I going to live and die with it? No. I always say there's real life, and then there's wrestling. If you're a promoter, blah, 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 like, with all due respect, you're not my real boss. Da, 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 I will be professional. I will respect you and all that stuff. But my real job is always going to take precedence. My family is always going to take precedence. If I have an important date or something, or it's dad's birthday, whatever it is, that stuff always comes first. So, goals, that's tricky. I would love to continue to learn and grow. And if there were an opportunity in some way for me to do this, to do what I love and get paid doing what I love, I think that's the dream. And that's why I kept bringing up like LaGreca. He gets to talk wrestling every day, and with some amazing performers. And if I was able to do that with my boys, because I feel like I'm so proud of my team, and I feel like we do have entertainment value. We look at it professionally, and like you said, we are fans, and people do gravitate towards us or want to hang out with us. That would be, I guess, the goal or the dream, is just to do what we do every day, for that to be our job. So this could, not, I don't want to say come first, but this could be, in terms of like job or career, that would be very, very cool and very rewarding. And that being said, if it all stopped tomorrow, I'd be so happy with everything that we've accomplished.
Yeah, that's well said. Yeah, you have a really bright future, and I am so I'm so happy that you were able to come on this show and just talk about it. So, Rob, thank you for coming on the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. So, if you will just tell everybody where they can find you, follow you, and tell everybody what you've got going on right now, then you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Steph, thank you so much for having me. I got to put you over. You are definitely killing it on commentary. Seeing you up there with Lita and Trish and Mickey James, I legit thought you were hosting that panel, and it made total sense to me. You will be hosting that panel one day. You're killing it. You put in the work. More importantly, you're a kind person. I appreciate you having me. I wish you continued success. Don't forget me when you're
Oh
getting
God,
those
no.
opportunities. Got the calendar right here. Get that shameless promo. This Saturday, I Am Legend, going to be here in Union, New Jersey. All women's show. Vicious Vicky, Riley Shepard, JC Storm. The list goes on and on. It's going to be great. I'll be on the call for that one. That will be on IWTV next week. We're going to have Vinny Pacifico on the show. We just had Chad Minez on. He's running a lot of the standalone events. I have ISPW, Independent Superstars of Professional Wrestling. We'll be over there with Maven, Dave LaGreca, formerly Danny Doring, Danny Morrison. I think Tommy Dreamer is going to be there on the 24th. We have Titan Championship Wrestling on the 18th, Pro Wrestling Magic on the 25th. This is all New Jersey. Guys, if you want to support some up-and-coming wrestlers, some independent talent who will be on your TV screens every night in the near future, some of these guys and gals, check them out. Support independent wrestling. If you guys would please subscribe. We're getting the YouTube going now. The Bob Culture Podcast on YouTube. So proud of our Johnny Gargano interview. That was bucket list. What a moment. At Bob Culture Pod on Twitter, the Bob Culture Podcast on Instagram. Just starting up that TikTok, I think, the Bob Culture Podcast. And yeah, shameless promo. You can check out the t-shirts on tpublic.com. And just come hang out. Come to our predictions panels. Before pay-per-view, usually the Thursday before, we go live. We make our predictions. Steph's been on a bunch of them. Come hang out. Talk with us. Tell us who you got. We're by the fans for the fans. And yeah, that's all the shameless promo for me. Check us out. But more importantly, check out the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with the good sister, Stephanie Hardy.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for all the kind words. And I'm just loved this conversation. This was great. So if you ever want to come back on, you can. The door is always open.
Okay.
So of course, please follow him and all of his great things. But also, please follow me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy, and follow the podcast on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast, and on Twitter at Hardy Wrestle Pod, because of the characters, because I can't make that decision as Twitter. And subscribe to my YouTube channel, Hardy Wrestling Podcast. And of course, listen to me everywhere: Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, basically anywhere you get your podcast, I'm there. So with that in mind, thank you for watching the Hardy Wrestling Podcast Live Vibe. And until next time, good night, y'all.